Welcome to the 128th season of the Canadian Club Toronto, Canada's Podium. For over a century, this platform has been a gathering place for visionaries, public figures, and decision makers to discuss the most pressing issues of our time.
We've been having important discussions and debates around this podium in this country for well over a century. I call this a historic podium of record.
Our club's always been a forum for visionaries, public figures, and decision makers to command attention to the issues of our time.
The Canadian Club is one of the most important podiums anywhere in the world that a Canadian can speak to, tell Canadians what it is that they think, develop those thoughts. And so I want to thank you for that very, very much.
Please join me in thanking our esteemed panelists today.
Through our programs and events, including our youth and young leaders programs, our diversity partnerships, our joint events, and our media and social media opportunities, we offer you access to dynamic political, social, and business figures from abroad and right here at home.
The platform from which the eloquence of Canada has flowed all of that time, whether it be business, education, politics, sports, arts, and culture. If someone wants to say something to Canadians about this country and about the future of this country, this is the venue you choose.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanya Van Biesen, Canadian Club President for our 128th season. I'm pleased to host the club's first event of the month, featuring a self-made billionaire whose generosity has benefited our country in so many ways. As Canada's Podium, we know the importance of making meaningful connections and learning from accomplished executives and thought leaders. We work hard to make sure that our club remains relevant, reflective of the issues and topics that resonate with you, and 128 years on, I'd like to think we are onto something. Our ability to host these engaging events would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. We are grateful the Canadian Bankers Association joins us again this year as our season sponsor, that we have again landed Air Canada as our official airline sponsor, and that Canada's Forest Trust has returned as our partner in offsetting our carbon footprint through its planting of smart forests. Thank you all for your ongoing support. Today's event is sponsored by Bruce Power, and I'd like to welcome them and thank you for your sponsorship. We also have the opportunity and are quite delighted to welcome student tables from McMaster University, from York University Finance Club, and from the George Brown Investment Club. So thank you all for joining us here today. I'll quickly highlight some housekeeping items. So if you're looking for details about our upcoming events, please visit our website at canadianclub.org. We've got a very impressive lineup of speakers coming up for you, and please consider becoming a member if you haven't done so already. We also offer our events on demand and live stream for free. We encourage you to share information about today's event on your favorite social media platforms, and again, please visit our website if you would like to hear past events. Now, if you're curious about what's in store for investment markets, or perhaps you'd like to hear more about the possibilities of nuclear medicine, you have a unique opportunity today to ask our guest of honor some questions. Question and answer cards can be found here on your table, and we will be collecting them throughout our conversation today to share them with our moderator. And for those joining remotely, please hit the Submit a Question button on the right side of your screen as you would like to ask a question. And now, of course, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce today's speaker. He is a visionary entrepreneur and risk taker who has made a lifelong commitment to doing well by doing good. Michael Lee Chin is the founder and chairman of Portland Holdings, a privately held investment company that owns a collection of diversified businesses in sectors including financial services, consumer goods, waste management, tourism, insurance, agriculture, and media, in Canada and many points beyond. In addition to his many business successes, Michael has a long list of well-deserved honors to his name for his significant contributions to both business and philanthropy. These include, wait for it, Doctor of Laws degrees from 6 distinguished universities, which makes me ask what I am doing with my personal time, as well as both the Order of Jamaica and the Order of Ontario. Moderating today's conversation is John Ehrlichman. Many of you would know John has recently stepped down from his anchor role at BNN Bloomberg and CTV News to start something new, and for those who were reading their ROB this morning, you would have seen it on the front page of the Globe that John has launched a YouTube channel called Ticker Take with John Ehrlichman. And this will only add to his very impressive 1 million followers that he already has on social media, so I encourage you to check that out on YouTube. John, Michael, welcome to Canada's Podium.
And thank you so much. Michael, it's great to see you. And I've had the great opportunity to speak with Michael on some occasions in the past. And with events like this, I know Michael has a few words that are part of his framework and his philosophy, but there are words that come to mind for me, which would include opportunity and execution and inspiration, all things I think we're going to get a taste of today. And I think the other unique thing is that for someone who has had the success through all those lenses to be now charting out a new path ahead that I think we can all learn something about, I'm very excited. It's great to be back with you.
Thank you, John, and congratulations.
Thank you. I tried to time this so I could be close to an entrepreneur, because now I'm an entrepreneur.
It's
That was
an
the
honor.
whole plan.
So, you know, John, we remember day one of every event in our life.
Yeah.
So you'll remember day one today, being here.
This is a great day.
Yes.
Very excited.
Congratulations on behalf of
Thank
all
you.
of
Thank
us.
you very much. Well, I guess most people in this room know about one of the biggest moments in your career, but just as a quick reminder, in the early 80s, as there are a lot of young people, I think, who are interested in finance here, you saw an industry that was changing. You saw an opportunity at that point. And remind us what was going through your mind as you saw change coming and how you approached that.
Well, I've always been interested in wealth creation, the principles of wealth creation, and I wanted to basically to distill it down into a formula so that it was teachable and repeatable, because it's very difficult to teach behavior, but if you can translate behavior into principles, you can teach principles. So early in my career, I thought I was a financial advisor. I'm still a financial advisor. And I would ask myself the question, when someone entrusts me with their future to make sure that at the end of their working lifetime, they have a mountain of assets from which to derive income, that's a huge responsibility. And therefore, I have to make sure that whatever I do, I get it right, upfront, and immediate. I cannot play around with time, because Albert Einstein once said, the 8th wonder of the world is compounding. And wealth creation is really mathematical. I'm an engineer. So what's the mathematics of wealth creation? You have to be on side of the future value formula. FV equals PV, present value, open brackets, 1 plus 3 to return after tax, close bracket, to the exponent time.
Take that, ChatGPT.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it is impossible to create wealth unless you optimize all the relevant variables in that formula.
Yeah.
And the most important one is time, because time is the only exponent in the formula. All the other variables are linear. So therefore, wealth creation is all about you have to make sure you get it right now. So I was searching for a formula. And, being an engineer, and I know we have a group of engineers here from McMaster, and scientists, the scientific process when you have a question that you're trying to solve is the following. Number one, you observe. Then you create a hypothesis from your observation. Stress test the hypothesis on the different conditions. If it holds true, you codify, and then you hardwire. So I took that engineering scientific process to wealth creation. So I observed, and there's a framework, another framework, Tanya, that I implemented. Number one, you want to be successful at any endeavor, any. You want to be the most successful CEO, president, student. This formula will always work. Number one, identify a role model. Who before me, in this particular endeavor that I'm striving to achieve eminence in, has done the best job in the world? Secondly, get the recipe from the role model. And thirdly, do the same. Don't change it. Don't put your thumbprint on it. So I was fortunate that in 1979, I came across Mr. Buffett in reading. Because remember, I'm observing wealthy people. He wasn't well known then. Observation, create a hypothesis, etc. So I came across Mr. Buffett, and I accepted him as my role model. So I started to go down to Berkshire, to Omaha, Nebraska, back in 1982, when there was just 100 of us in the Orpheum Theater. So what did I learn from Mr. Buffett, basically? Wealth is created by, in addition to being on side of the future value formula, by practicing what we now call the 3 Ps. You think about every successful person, wealthy person. That person practiced implicitly the 3 Ps. They may not have known about the 3 Ps, but number one, they predicted. They took a view of the future. Then they were so committed to their prediction that they planned for it singularly. And thirdly, they persevered with their plan. So predict, plan, persevere. So in the 1980s, I implemented that PPP formula. So at the time, 1983, I remember, I said to myself, okay, if you're going to predict, you need a methodology that you are absolutely confident in terms of its predictive capabilities. So what is the best methodology you can think about, Mike? Demographics. Demographics. So, okay. And so I'm a member of the baby boomer cohort. At the time, that was the largest cohort in North America, 30%. Today, the millennium cohort is the largest. At the time, so 30% of the North American population consisted of people who were born between 1946 and 1964. So I thought to myself, okay, whatever the basic hypothesis is the following. Whatever this cohort does, there goes the economy. That was the basic hypothesis. So what in 1983, what was this cohort doing? Well, I was 32. At 32, what do 32-year-old families do? They are consuming. They're buying a home, car, refrigerator, furniture, etc. Aggregating to the largest percentage of North American population, I concluded we are currently, as we stand here, back then, in a consumption boom. But you don't create any wealth by doing today what everybody else is doing. You create wealth by doing today what people will be doing 10 years from now. So, okay, I'm 32. Demographics is a great predictor. What do 42-year-old families do? Well, you get, they realize, oh my gosh, I've been consuming for the last 2 decades, and in 23 years from now, 2 decades from now, I'm facing retirement. But I'm undersaved. I'm underinvested. So we're the largest percentage of the North American population coming to that will be coming to that realization 10 years from now. So what do I do today? If you know coming 10 years, there's going to be a huge tsunami of people who are going to realize, oh my gosh, I need to save and invest. Well, you can invest in a bank or bank shares, but that's not the bullseye because you can get loan losses. Or you could invest in an insurance company shares. That too isn't the bullseye because you can get underwriting losses. Or you could invest in wealth management companies. Bingo. So I went out as a young man, armed with that, the confidence of the demographics being a great predictive tool. And I went out and borrowed $500,000, more than my net worth then, to put into one stock, Mackenzie Financial Corporation, 1983. Adjusted for splits, Mackenzie was $1 per share. 4 years later, 1987, it was $7. So 500,000 became 3.5 million. The industry from 1983 had total assets under management of 4 billion. Today it's 2 trillion, 400 times. So the prediction, demographics, actually was a great predictor.
And that paves the way for what is consuming much of your time now.
Yes.
And I'm sure everybody is very interested because there's a room full of people who are trying to figure out where the world will be in 10 years. And you are very busy. There's a lot of talk about future energy supply and energy independence and aging population and healthcare requirements. You are leaning into all of those trends largely through one lens. Can you talk to us a little bit about when you started to look at the opportunity, particularly the nuclear opportunity, when you started to think about that being at the center perhaps of where we might be in a decade's time?
So it was back in 2018. So in 2018, this friend of mine had prostate cancer. And he called me and said, you know, Mike, when you have prostate cancer, the escalating protocol of treatments you go through would be prostatectomy, which is surgery, external beam radiation. If your PSA level is still high, you get chemotherapy / androgen deprivation therapy. So he had been through prostatectomy, and he got radiation, and his PSA level was still high. So his oncologist said, well, the next step is you're going to get chemotherapy / androgen deprivation therapy. He rejected the doctor's suggestion. He said, Doc, I don't want to die an old woman. Androgen deprivation therapy. So he said, there must be another solution. So the doctor said, well, you know, there's this guy in Germany, Dr. Richard Baum, who is practicing this novel treatment called PRRT, peptide receptor radionuclide therapy. You should go and see him, because he's having great success over there. So my friend went to Germany, Bad Berka, Germany, East Germany, former East Germany. And the first day he went to the clinic, he checked in, and he met this American gentleman. And this American gentleman, they were talking in the lobby. He said, you know, 40 years ago, I had prostate cancer. And I went through the escalating protocol of treatments. And at the end of 10 years ago, it came back. And my oncologist at Johns Hopkins said, I'm end state. There's nothing else we can do for you. But there's a guy in Germany, Dr. Richard Baum. You should go and see him. So 10 years ago, he went to see Dr. Baum. And when he got to see Dr. Baum infused him with 4 doses of lutetium, basically. And he went back to America. He went to Johns Hopkins. Oh, by the way, his PSA level, when he got to Dr. Baum, was 2,000. Normal is less than 3. He had cancer, the cancer had metastasized to his brains, his bones, and his lungs. After taking 4 infusions of radioisotope at lutetium, he went back to Johns Hopkins. They tested him. His PSA level went from 2,000 to 0.6. No more cancer in his brains, lungs, nor bones. So I said, Richard, my friend, next time you see, tomorrow when you meet Dr. Baum, ask him 2 questions for me. Is this, firstly, the first one is, really allow me to start an offshoot clinic of his in Jamaica? Because North American men are dying. We don't have this treatment in North America. And secondly, does this methodology, this modality, does it work for colon cancer? Because my mom has colon cancer. So that's how I got introduced to this nuclear medicine space.
And precision oncology, which is an area of key focus for you, and it ties back to the theme of demographics, an aging population, and what are going to be the needs for them. And then on the on the energy independence story, because there's been a lot said about if we want to lessen our dependence on fossil fuels, nuclear has entered the equation in a big way. What are your predictions there, and how do you see it being used? In other words, if we're going to try to envision nuclear's role in the world going forward, what does that look like, in your opinion?
So, if you think about the energy mix of most countries, we define it as a hub and spoke model. At the hub, you have fossil fuels. The spokes are renewable energy. Fossil fuels, they have some remarkable qualities. That's the reason why they're at the hub. They're base load. The first is they're always on. Renewables are not always on. Number 2, they're highly scalable. Renewables are not scalable. Number 3, they're high energy dense. Renewables are not high energy dense. So hence, the model that every country is prevalent in every country is fossil fuels at the base, at the hub, and renewables, the spokes. But renewables, they have one major problem: dirty. And it's causing existential threat to mankind. Look at Florida. Last 2 weeks ago we had Beryl. Now there's Milton. There's no Milton 2 weeks later. Right? So it's causing, the fossil fuels are causing existential threats. So in 2015, the Paris Accord, COP20, most countries in the world signed up to be carbon net zero by 2050. So that's an imperative. So we know it's coming. But to be carbon net zero, we have to change the energy mix of every country and every industry that's heavily industrialized. We have to change the energy mix. So the new energy mix will, same model, hub and spoke. At the hub, we still need a source that is always on, that is highly scalable, and high energy dense, but clean. There's only one such source, only one. So if we know it's an imperative that countries have to go there because they're all committed in 2015, and we know there's only one source, which is nuclear fission, only one source. So what is happening today is we will have to get rid of the base, the hub, as it exists, fossil fuels, and supplant it with nuclear at the base, the hub, and fossil fuels, so renewables, the spokes. Now, if you believe the following statement, then here's the opportunity. Whenever there's a shift in the dominant source of energy, there's a shift in economic power. If you believe that, the question is, so what are you doing about it?
and add into the mix as well the fact that everyone's talking about AI and these power needs and how will that be satisfied as well. Now, you mentioned the engineering philosophy to investing and subsequently investing in wealth management. I think it would be helpful for people here to understand if you were going to set out to prepare for where we're going and you see a very clear path on where we're going, how do you build a team around that? Because if I'm not mistaken, you have a team that has a lot of experts within the industry. How did you go about putting together the team?
Well, it goes back to the essence of what investing really is. And if you think about any wealthy person, someone who created the wealth, not got married into it, or inherited it, or stole it. Someone who made it. I'll define the 5 things that person did. So if you think about any wealthy person, number 1, that person owned a few high-quality businesses. Number 2, that person really understands those few businesses. Understand is the operative word here. That is the essence of investing. Number 3, those few businesses are domiciled in strong long-term growth industries. That's where the prediction came in. Number 4, that person you're thinking of has used other people's money. And lastly, that person has simply held those few businesses for the long run. That is investing. What most people do today is not investing. Because most people see stocks as a piece of paper to be traded. That's not investing. Investing is applying those 5 principles. That's how wealth is created. Investing, a stock really is a pro rata interest in a business. So you better make sure you understand what the business is doing. And you better make sure that it's a business that has long-term characteristics and management that you admire and is aligned to shareholders' optimization.
It makes me wonder what you think about policy, because we live in a world where there sometimes feels like a lot of short-term thinking and punchy sound bites in the political arena. But you're focusing on an area where there's actually an enormous Canadian opportunity. And I wonder how you feel Canada is seizing on that opportunity.
Well, Canada has the pole position when it comes to all things nuclear. Well, Canada has, over the last 75 years, dedicated its nuclear prowess to peaceful purposes only through the Atomic Energy of Canada, parent of CNL, Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, which is the repository for all of Canada's IP, nuclear IP. So not only do we have the IP in all things nuclear from small modular reactors, which will be how energy will be, which will become more ubiquitous throughout the world.
Which is an important point. We don't have to think of these massive facilities to get more nuclear out and powering the economy. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Think about, when you think about nuclear, you think about these massive giga plants. But every nuclear warship, every nuclear submarine has a micromodular reactor in it that powers it for 60 years. Every nuclear submarine. So the technology is here. It's not arcane. So getting back to Canada, and specifically Ontario. So we have a history of using nuclear productively in medical radioisotopes. We were the leaders in the world in medical radioisotopes. And we also have CNL. We also have the raw materials. So we are totally vertically integrated. And if Ontario was a country, it would be the most nuclear-friendly country in the world. Because already 60% of our electricity comes from nuclear. So we have a pole position that it would be a crying shame if we gave it up, given what's to come. So in terms of policy, we should, again, in terms of policy, the best policymakers should be thinking PPP, the 3 Ps. Predict, plan, and persevere. So we could develop, we could become the nuclear epicenter in the world if we had the right policies. Because we have the pole position. Up until the Ukrainian war, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Germany had made the politicians' policy was that they're going to shrink or get rid of the 9 nuclear plants that they had then to 0. France was going from 23 down to 0. They're all going to 0. Then the Ukrainian war came and it changed the paradigm instantly. So unfortunately, policymakers, politicians, they're not thinking long-term enough. They're going with what is politically expedient, unfortunately.
In the markets, though, they're paying attention. You've been paying attention. You're seeing that action in the stock market as well. People are recognizing the potential value in power. You talked at the beginning about the medical opportunity, and we should remind people that there's arguably over the last year, is that fair to say? Over the last year, I think you've seen a lot of the large drug makers that all of a sudden have been chasing after actually a lot of the companies that are at the center of this kind of precision oncology that, I mean, it's remarkable. You got to get those treatments to people really quickly, and it's fragile in many respects, but if it can help people, told your friend's story as well. Can you talk to us a little bit just about what you've been noticing in the healthcare industry surrounding that?
So, in 2018, when we became involved, I went through a company out of Germany, which really was basically, it would have founding status in this modality. The company is called ITM out of Munich. So we became involved, I became involved in ITM because of my friend. So he led me, when he said he was going to Germany, I was interested in the treatment. So I eventually went to Germany, visited a company that was behind the production of lutetium-177, and we eventually invested in the company in 2018, before it became popular. Today, there are 2 drugs in the marketplace that are federally FDA approved, Health Canada approved, and they're both by Novartis. One is called Lutathera, which is for GEP-NET patients, gastroenteropancreatic neuroendocrine tumors, and the other is for prostate cancer. In terms of prostate cancer, our company, ITM, supplies Novartis with nearly 100%, which is in the marketplace today, nearly 100% of their lutetium-177. So, but over the last year, the big pharmas, so Novartis was the first. In 2018, they bought 2 companies, one out of France, AAA, that gave them access to Lutathera, GEP-NET, and the other, Endocyte out of Florida, which gave Novartis access to the prostate drug. They eventually completed their phase 3 process with the FDA, and they're now in the marketplace. But over the last year, most of the big, large farmers, they've realized that they have no exposure in this space that will be the 4th modality for treating cancer. Surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and now PRRT or TRT, targeted radionuclide therapy, which is the fourth modality for treating cancer. It's very robust. So now a lot of companies, entrepreneurial companies, are getting into the space, studying different types of cancer and how to use this modality to address zapping cancer at the cellular, at the cell level, leaving neighboring healthy cells alone, so minimal side effects, outpatient.
So I want to try to work in some of the questions, great questions we got from the audience as well. Just for the record, like if someone has a friend who has a medical experience in Germany, not everybody, and I would imagine your schedule's pretty busy, flies over to Germany to get on it and figure out what's going on and ultimately becomes an investor, but I think that's part of the reason that makes you successful and productive. We did get a question about productivity in this country generally. You've heard the question many times before. What suggestions might you have for Canadians, our political leaders, on what we can do to be a more productive country, seizing on those opportunities, and is the environment ripe for doing so?
So, when I first went to, in 1983, I went to register my eldest son at high school, at kindergarten. And when I got to the principal, it's a private school, principal's office, I looked at the wall and I saw all the list of dean's honor students. And a lot of a disproportionate amount of the names were foreign names. So it struck me, this is 1983, that immigrants build countries. It struck me then. So, when I bought the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica in 2002, that framework is what I used to turn the bank around. Because immigrants build countries. The inverse of that is once you get into second or third generation, you get lethargy, you get entitlement, you don't have the same immigrant mentality. Because the bridge isn't burnt behind you. You can only go forward as an immigrant. So what I did to turn the company around and to increase productivity was to parachute some immigrants into the bank. Immigrants meaning staff from head office here in Canada. Basically, the immigrants. You understand the point, right? And what they did, they worked side by side, the native staff, so we could consciously recalibrate their standards. So getting back to your question, Canada, we will see our productivity go up because over the last 10 years, more than 10 years, well, Canada is built by immigrants, right? And that immigration has accelerated significantly up until recently.
Well, going back to your point about an aging population,
yes,
you're going to need a lot of new Canadians.
So new Canadians build, they come here and say, oh my gosh, you have that, I want that too, and I'm willing to do anything and everything to get that. But you just take it for granted.
Speaking of wanting something, we did get a question from a student that is deeply interested in pursuing a career in investment management and the markets. Do you have any advice for young professionals on how to get started, how to just jump in?
In investing? In a career in
investing? In a career in investing.
Firstly, you see, in any career or business, there are some qualities that you have to be very conscious of. Not a framework, Tanya. For every business, for every professional to be the best version of him or herself, he or she has to constantly be thinking, how is my behavior differentiating itself in the marketplace? Number two, every professional, every business has to think constantly, how is my behavior really accreting to a better reputation every day? So reputation building is a project that every professional has to be most conscious of, and every business has to be also conscious of, and be working towards accreting it, improving it every day. And thirdly, every professional, every business has to be conscious every day. Am I being relevant to clients, to customers? Am I being relevant? Because it's very easy. And here's another framework, Tanya. It's very easy.
She's running out of space on her notepad.
It's very easy that when you become successful at whatever, guess what's the byproduct of success? Complacency. Natural, it's human. And guess what's the byproduct of complacency? Failure. So if you don't want to be a failure, when you become successful, you have to remember your attitude, your values, your standards that you had when you were really bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And unfortunately, if you want to maintain success, you're stuck on that treadmill.
There you go. Which means today matters for everyone who's sitting and watching. Today is part of that journey. It matters a lot. We haven't had a chance really to talk about the fact that, yes, you've had great success financially, but you've also been dedicated to giving back. And I wonder at what point that became crystal clear to you. Was that clear from day one? I think for those who want to feel rewarded in life, all aspects of life, how have you thought about that?
Well, I'm fortunate that when I was born, my mom, she was 18 years old, and when she had me, and she was an orphan, and because she had me at 18, and when she got pregnant, they kicked her out of her job, so she was unemployed when she had me. So for the first 6 months of my life, we're both adopted by the helpers of the local supermarket. So that's my beginning. But I was fortunate that's my beginning. Then on March the 23rd, 2002, I was at the office of the Minister of Finance in Jamaica, just about to write the check to buy the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica. And I thought, my parents were there, my 8 siblings, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, how the hell did this happen? How do you go from being adopted with your mom by the helpers, and now you're writing a check to buy the equivalent to the Royal Bank of Canada? How is that possible? Oh my gosh. It's possible. The answers, 3 answers came to mind. It's possible for reasons that I had nothing to do with. Number one, I was blessed to have been born to a lady who had high values, high standards, led by example, had high expectation of me, and nurtured me. I didn't choose her. I was blessed to have been born to that lady, notwithstanding her beginning. Secondly, I was blessed to have been born in an era in which I could get educated. I could own a pen. I didn't choose my era. Had I been born 250 years prior, I would have been owned, and I wouldn't have been able to get an education. I didn't choose my era. Oh my gosh, I'm blessed to have been born in this one that I'm suitable for. I'm a fit for this one. And third, I was born in a country, Jamaica, that nurtured me to think that I could be anybody. I didn't choose my country. I was blessed to have been born in that one. On the other hand, on January 3rd, 1951, when I was born, there were millions of kids who were born throughout the world, who were born to parents who had no values, no standards, and they didn't have the same confidence. Who were born in an era in which they were perfect misfits, and they're born in countries that made them not confident. Mike, remember, this is just about writing a check. These thoughts are flashing in front of in my mind. Mike, do you have a responsibility, given that you are here for many reasons that you had nothing to do with? Do you have a responsibility to all those people who didn't choose their situation? Any responsibility? The answer is obvious. Yes. So I'm gonna dedicate this institution, the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica, to the following. It's gonna do well by doing good, which is part of my family's mantra, and we codified it in the Latin translation, prosperitas cum caritate, prosperity with care. Because lots of people can do well, but there is no fulfillment in only doing well. Fulfillment comes when you uplift others. But you can't uplift others optimally unless you do well. So, prosperitas cum caritate, doing well by doing good.
It's a great place to end off. Thank you for sharing so much amazing perspective. We're all enriched today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Do you need that?
Okay.
You can stay or you can go.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you. Not sure where to begin. Thank you, Michael and John, for a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your passion, which is so evident. Your vision, your expansive vision for what can be, what could be. When you were born, you've got an amazing command for dates, by the way. I can't remember my birthday, so that is very impressive. The vision that you had for your life, for your family, for your country, for what this country can do is very, very impressive. I had the good fortune of sitting next to you at lunch and learning about the frameworks. Next time I want to sit next to your family because they probably have another view of frameworks that I'm sure you've shared with them over time. Predict, plan, persevere. I will remember that one, and I've jotted down the many others. But things that stood out for me, first of all, the eighth wonder of the world is compounding. So for anybody in this room that is an investor, of course, that is critical for us to remember. I would also say that your view on nuclear and Canada's opportunity there, which many would say actually we've squandered and now we're in a catch-up position, but we still have an opportunity to own that space, speaks to me because I think this is very much a part of the future that Canada can own. I think I wrote down all of your investing principles correctly. So again, for those in the room, own a few high-quality businesses, understand those businesses, invest in industries that have strong growth characteristics. The fourth one I'm dodgy on, but invest in management that you believe is capable. Use other people's money. Dang it. Okay, use other people's money. And hold those businesses over the long term. Okay. Finally, I will say, I think you buried the lead because somewhere in there, I think you had a cure for cancer. So maybe we should come back to that at another time. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank your family for being here. Please accept our wishes, our best wishes for continued success. And John, thank you for moderating a great conversation. So thank you. Now, before we close, I'd like to invite our audiences again to visit our website at canadianclub.org for more information on our upcoming events, and I'll preview two for you here. October 29th, we are hosting a fantastic panel on rebuilding confidence in our health system, featuring OMA President Dr. Dominic Nowak and former Health Minister Christine Elliott. And on November 4th, we will host the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy ahead of the province's fall economic statement. As always, I would like to thank our AV supplier, VBC Live, for its consistently reliable and wonderful support. Members and guests, thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to see you at our future events. Thank you.